What's up everybody, D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing a Godzilla news update. I feel like it's been months since I've done one of these. There's good reason for that. I just got burnt out of them. When you do like 30 news updates in a week, it comes to the point when you're just like, you want to die just talking about this stuff. It's so boring at that point, but I've given it some time. I've laid off on them. Now I'm ready to do them again. So although Pacific Rim Uprising is coming out in just like a week or like a little more than a week or something like that, I'm going to be talking about Godzilla King of the Monsters, which comes out in 2019 instead, because the Pacific Rim news that we're getting isn't nearly as interesting as the Godzilla 2 stuff. Also, I'm more hopeful for Godzilla 2 than I am for Pacific Rim, so I'm going to talk about that one instead. So first off, David Hernandez, or aka Gorizard, posted this picture on Facebook that I think is a great, he calls it a re-envisioned version of the legendary design. I think it's a great reimagining of it. They basically remodeled it to make him a little slimmer and more muscular, and I think this is a fantastic design. I think they may have tweaked the dorsal fins, but I can't tell. This is exactly what I want to see in legendary sequels. He looks fantastic in this shot, and I watched Godzilla 2014 again recently, and I am taken back every time I watch it by just how fat Godzilla is. When I watch other Godzilla movies like Shin Godzilla or Godzilla Monster Planet that also feature a fat Godzilla, it never takes me off guard. One exception would be Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. I think it was Space Godzilla. It took me off guard when I was doing my review for it for Godzillathon. It may have been Mechagodzilla 2, but this Godzilla, every single time, I'm just like, God, he does look fat, and it's not like you can look at him in some shots and he won't look fat. It's like he always looks fat. This design looks fantastic. They did so little to tweak it, and it looks amazing. This is exactly what I want to see. We have another picture of that same Godzilla sculpt from Tanaka Studios. These guys posted a picture. You got the Godzilla 2014 next to his SH Monster Arts counterpart, and then in the background you can see their Godzilla Monster Planet right next to their Monster Arts version of Monster Planet. These designs are very well linked together, as we've talked about on the channel before. They do look like they're very similar to one another. It looks like Monster Planet was inspired by Godzilla from Legendary. I don't know, I think it's awesome. I love these two designs. They're two of my favorites. And I know that's kind of crazy considering what I was talking smack about the Monster Planet design before the movie came out. It really did grow on me. It still doesn't look great from a lot of angles, but when you do look at it and it looks good, it looks good. And I think Godzilla Earth looks fantastic. It's Phileas who kind of throws everything off for me. Alright, now getting into a small piece of news. Recently, Kyle Chandler, the actor who played none other than Bruce Baxter in King Kong 2005, came out and had a position on his thoughts regarding Godzilla vs. Kong. Kyle Chandler will be playing one of the main characters in Godzilla King of the Monsters that comes out in 2019. He is one of the main family members of the family with Vera Farmiga and Millie Bobby Brown. Basically, what he said was, there's no way Kong's gonna win. I think his direct quote was, what's Kong gonna do? Throw banana peels at him or something like that. He talks about how Godzilla has, I think he says death ray or something like that. Basically, he's like, Godzilla's got the atomic breath and he flies. So you can't beat him. I don't know. Kong already did beat him in the past, so I guess we'll just have to see. Either way, I think it's really funny that this guy decided to come out and have a position on this fight. I wonder if he's going to be in Godzilla vs. Kong. I don't know. I haven't heard any details about him being on set. They just started filming that movie, so we'll just have to wait and see. Remember guys, if you're new to the news updates, or if it's because it's been a while, I do link all this stuff down below so you can go check it out. Okay, so Godzilla 2 did something kind of unprecedented. I've never heard of anything like this before. They did a pre-screening for the movie over a year before it comes out. Usually, I know pre-screenings happen like months before the movie comes out, but I've never heard of like a year and a half before the movie comes out. That's just, I've never heard of that before. If it has happened, you can feel free to let me know down below. I know Deadpool 2 recently just did a press or like a pre-screening, and they were like, oh, you got to change some stuff. And I think they're back in reshoots for that. Like, I've never heard of it like a year in advance. So that's kind of cool because it gives me something to talk about, but it's also a little bit worrying because you think about it means either one of two things. Neither of them are good. Number one, it means that the studio is not confident in Pacific Rim Uprising, because we didn't get anything like this for Pacific Rim Uprising. They're doing very, very few early screenings of Pacific Rim Uprising, which is a good indication a lot of the times that the studio doesn't have faith in the movie. I got to go to one of the press screenings for Kong last year, so that was awesome. Got to see it like 10 days before it came out for everyone else, which was amazing, and I loved it. But they haven't even done one of these types of screenings, like even a press screening for Pacific Rim Uprising, and that movie comes out really soon, or at least none that I've heard of. I think they've done like one in the nation, and then they're like, oh, we're calling it quits. And I never heard about them doing an early, like, here you go reactions kind of thing back a year and a half ago. They never did that. If they did, and I'm just an idiot, please let me know. That would actually make me feel a lot better about the movie, because I'm worried for it. Regardless, though, they decided to have a test screening for Godzilla King of the Monsters, and it was held in Burbank, California, and the reactions were pretty positive. One quote said that the human characters are cardboard and the story is dumb. So that's not very good, but the next person we'll talk about will really kind of help put that into perspective. This person says, the monsters are all you really care about, and there's lots of good monster stuff to go around, a lot like Kong Skull Island. So that's good, right? I guess. Personally, you guys know on the channel, I thought Kong Skull Island was much more enjoyable than Godzilla 2014, although it's a Godzilla movie, right? It's Godzilla. I think Godzilla does deserve these kind of more heartfelt, deeper movies. And I don't know, because Kong has always just kind of been whimsical and magical, and Godzilla has always been the very dark and, you know, deep one of the two. So I don't know if it's a good thing that we're getting cardboard characters and dumb stories. I would really appreciate if we got a great human story to go along with a fantastic kaiju story. That's really what I look for in Godzilla movies. If you've watched Godzillathon, you'll know that's kind of my scale. I'm like, does it have a good monster story? The monster story's okay, but the human story's amazing, so overall it's well-rounded. Or I'm like, the monster stuff is amazing, but the human stuff kind of sucks. It's a shame we spend so much of our time with the human stuff, because that weighed the whole movie down. It's not great. That's pretty much what I do. I just take 40 minutes to get there. So I don't know. I'm kind of worried for that. I would appreciate some better character stuff. I'm excited to hear about the new, monsters fighting all the time and just crazy kaiju action, especially now that it's going to be in a city, presumably, because it's Godzilla. So that'll be fun. I don't know, I'm just a little worried for the human stuff. But the other review we got, this one comes from comicbooks.com, or comicbooknews.com. This one really helped put things in perspective. They were talking about how a Reddit user was giving their review for the movie. They said that they only got to see 40 minutes of it. So good. Now we know why there's been like so many people being like, humans suck, is because they only got to see 40 minutes of it, and that included a lot of monster action. Supposedly they saw like the first 20 minutes of the movie, and there was a lot going on, lots of characters, lots of interesting stuff. They specifically call out the main family of Millie Bobby Brown's character, Vera Farmiga, and Kyle Chandler. They said they're all great. They said this movie will be a long kind of trudge to get to the good stuff, and they said it's not going to be like 2014, hopefully, but they still think it's going to be similar. But they do mention that it's got good atmosphere, which makes me feel better, because that's one thing that I think Pacific Rim Uprising is really lacking. We'll just have to see. Said the cinematography is great, and the special effects were hardly finished at all, so they could not talk about that very much until they got to Mothra later on. They also said O'Sheen Jackson was really good. He's been getting a lot of coverage lately, and I don't know what the big hype about him is. I've never heard of him before, so I guess he's a popular actor, but I'm not familiar with him. We're gonna do a lot more Godzilla news updates, so maybe through the course of these updates, I'll get familiar with these guys like I did with Kong. They said we're really gonna enjoy, and by we, I mean the general audiences, which includes you kaiju fans, because you guys really seem to fit this bill. We're really going to enjoy all the monster screen time. Apparently they got lots of screen time, and especially Godzilla. Godzilla is supposedly a main character in his movie, which hasn't really happened in the past other than Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. That's the one that comes to mind. Godzilla Final Wars, he's also a pretty major character in the second half of that movie, but there really aren't too many Godzilla movies where he is the main character, you know? He's always there. You feel his presence throughout most of the time, unlike, there's some films like Godzilla vs. Megalon when he shows up for 2 minutes at the end, and then you're like, Okay, I guess. But regardless, they said that Godzilla's got a lot of screen time in this movie. If you remember my Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 review from Godzillathon, for the 5 of you who watched it, if you remember that review, I talk a lot about how too much Godzilla is a bad thing. He shouldn't be the main character of his movies. You should have good human characters to react to Godzilla. Godzilla should be this major presence who shows up and dominates when he's on screen. You feel his presence throughout the movie, but he shouldn't always be seen on screen. That's what weighed that movie down. Godzilla was literally always on screen. First scene, boom, he's there. He walks up on an island, he's like, hey, I'm gonna fight Rodan. Then he just keeps coming back, and you're like, all right, can we get a little rest? And we just don't ever get a rest. I hope they didn't watch the reactions to 2014 and go, oh my god, people think there needs to be more Godzilla. Make him the main character. Spoiler alert, no matter what you do, people are gonna think there should be more Godzilla. That's just the way fans work. There's fans who say, hey, why do we even have a human character? Why do we even need that? We just got the monster stuff, it's gonna be great. No, we need the human stuff, alright? I'm in the small minority here, I know I am. They also said this is going to be the, quote, most original film in this universe. I don't know what that means. You know, most original film in this universe. Are they talking Godzilla movies in general? I don't think so. I think they're just talking about the MonsterVerse. I guess that's cool. We only have 2 movies to go off of, Kong Skull Island and Godzilla 2014, so sure, why not? Why not make this one the most original? They talked about Mothra a little bit, saying that the effects weren't 100% finished, but they thought that the hair on Mothra is fantastic. That's what I like to hear. They said that she's got a more gritty design than traditional, to be more inclined with Godzilla and Kong. So I'm not sure what I think about that, but she did say that the color of Mothra really stands out. Hey guys, I'm gonna intrude here for a minute. Sorry, I'm backlit. I didn't want to fix it because I like the light. So sorry, I'm a bit dark right now, but I need to talk about some things that I forgot to mention right here in this portion of the video. Also, happy St. Patrick's Day, folks. So when they mention that Mothra is really colorful, they go on to say that they don't know what Mothra Classic looks like from the Godzilla movies. This colorful aspect may apply to the normal Mothra, but there's been a theory we've been talking about on this channel for a couple months now. This theory wasn't invented by me, I'm not the first one who came up with it, but it was talked about by a lot of fans a few months ago when we were very first getting our original news regarding Mothra. We saw the picture from Comic-Con, and that theory was that the Mothra we get in the Godzilla 2 movie isn't going to be our normal Mothra that we're used to seeing. It may be something more along the lines of Mothra Leo. For those of you that don't know, this is a Mothra that could metamorphosize into many different forms. Featured in Rebirth of Mothra 2 and 3, this Mothra was Rainbow Mothra, both 1 and 2, and also Aqua Mothra and Lightspeed Mothra. I definitely don't remember Lightspeed Mothra. Also, the Armored Mothra. The one thing that really stands out about this incarnation of the character is the color, with a lot of very pretty blues and greens and oranges and yellows. It stands out from all the others, especially Armored Mothra, which is my favorite of the bunch. I think this is a really good possibility, seeing as though we're gonna get an updated version of the character for Godzilla 2. And based off what we've seen so far, they are adapting Mothra's design very faithfully. So I do think there is a leniency and leeway to play with the coloration. I feel like it would be pretty awesome to see the normal Mothra show up, and then to have that one turn into the Armored Mothra, because let's be honest, the Rainbow Mothra is kind of cool. Rainbow Mothra 2's pretty sweet. Lightspeed Mothra is stupid, so is Aqua Mothra. I think Armored Mothra is a fantastic design. And we'll talk about in a minute, they do mention the yellow pollen, which kind of destroys my whole theory that, yeah, maybe we are getting one of these more colorful incarnations of the character. I don't know, I'm just saying, we've seen Mothra transform before. Who's to say that she can't start normal and wind up a different color? I think we probably will get a classic standard Mothra. However, if you go back to some of our older videos, we did talk a lot about how the design resembles more of these Rainbow Mothra, Armored Mothra designs with the jagged ends, rather than our standard traditional characterization. Now they're talking about very pretty colors, so there is the potential. But as for the classic Mothra, they do say that, you know, this Mothra shoots yellow pollen. So we'll talk about that here in a second. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're not going to get one of these newer incarnations of Mothra from the 90s. We could always just see that Mothra shoot yellow pollen, you know? I do feel like we will get a more standard characterization than these more radical versions that we saw in the Rebirth trilogy, and I'm totally fine with that. I just think it'd be cool to see something a little more colorful enter the MonsterVerse. Anyways, guys, that's all I had to say. Was maybe we could get a different incarnation of the Mothra. I'll let myself get back to it so that you can finish the video. And that Mothra has some sort of yellow pollen effect that is, she says, very similar to Enchantress's black mist thing from Suicide Squad. That one really threw me at first. I was like, what the hell? Like, Mothra is just always shooting pollen out. But then I thought, no, maybe she's talking about like in an action sequence, Mothra has pollen coming off of her, because we've seen that before. We've seen in Godzilla vs. Mothra from the 90s, in Mothra vs. Godzilla from the 60s, we see that Mothra releases this pollen from her body as like a last resort mechanism, where she's just basically spewing poison in the atmosphere as an attempt to kill Godzilla. So if that's what she means, I'm all for that. That's pretty cool. And if it's just always coming off of her, I guess I can get behind that, just as long as it's not super distracting. Then she said that this one will carry over a lot of aspects from Godzilla 2014. Of course, we know we have returning cast members. We have Serizawa coming back and Dr. Graham. We also have supposedly a lot of connections to Kong Skull Island, so that'll be very interesting to see what's carried over from that movie. Some of us have speculated that maybe some of these characters who are in the movie who are played by older actors, like I think Charles Dance's character, a lot of us have been saying, what if he's James Conrad all grown up and old? That'd be really cool to see. And she said Millie Bobby Brown really didn't have too much going on during the 40 minutes of screen time that she saw. I don't know why I'm saying she, actually. I don't know that this is a girl. This is just an anonymous reviewer, so this could be a boy or a girl. Well, either way. And then also we have that plot description we got from a while ago that reads, the new story follows the heroic efforts of cryptozoological agency Monarch as its members face off against a battery of god-sized monsters, including the mighty Godzilla, who collides with Mothra Rodan and his ultimate nemesis, the three-headed King Ghidorah. When these ancient superspecies, thought to be mere myths, rise again, they all vie for supremacy, leaving humanity's very existence hanging in the balance. I feel like I've covered that in the past, but I just wanted to re-mention it here because I don't remember. It's been a while. In fact, if in these next news updates I wind up accidentally covering something that I've talked about in the past, don't kill me about it. Just be like, it's fine, we get a modern update on it. There shouldn't be too much carryover. I think I traditionally do a good job at getting rid of all my old news links so that I don't wind up reusing stories, but it's just been so long that I might just forget that I talked about something. Well, anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for today. I hope you all enjoyed. See you guys next time. D-Man, out.